The Galactic Academy's Challenge. The Galactic Academy of Sciences loomed before Zara Chen, a towering structure of crystalline spires and pulsating energy fields that seemed to defy the very laws of physics it was built to study. Zara took a deep breath, her hand tightening on the strap of her well-worn backpack. Inside, nestled between dog-eared textbooks and a battered laptop, lay her entire future. As she approached the shimmering force field that served as the Academy's main entrance, Zara couldn't help but feel a twinge of imposter syndrome. Here she was, a 22-year-old human from a backwater planet called Earth, about to step into the most prestigious scientific institution in the known universe. The irony wasn't lost on her. Less than a century ago, her species hadn't even achieved faster-than-light travel. Now she was here to compete with the brightest minds from across the galaxies. The force field rippled as Zara stepped through, tickling her skin with a sensation not unlike static electricity. Inside, the atrium bustled with activity. Beings of all shapes, sizes, and states of matter hurried about their business. A group of gaseous entities floated by, their conversations sounding like wind chimes in a storm. To her left, a creature that seemed to be made entirely of light was engaged in a heated debate with what looked like a sentient black hole. "Excuse me," Zara said, approaching a being that appeared to be some sort of information kiosk. Its body was a swirling vortex of data streams, coalescing into a vaguely humanoid shape. "I'm here for the new student orientation." The being's face resolved into a pleasant smile. "Welcome to the Galactic Academy of Sciences. Please state your name and species for verification." Zara Chen, human. There was a momentary pause, and Zara could have sworn she saw a flicker of surprise in the data streams. "Human. How? Interesting. Very well, Ms. Chen. Please proceed to Auditorium Omega for the orientation. It's just past the quantum fluctuation fountain. Can't miss it." As Zara made her way through the crowd, she couldn't help but notice the curious glances and not-so-subtle pointing from other beings. Humans were still a rarity in galactic society, especially in institutions like the Academy. She squared her shoulders and pressed on. She wasn't here to be a curiosity. She was here to prove herself. The quantum fluctuation fountain was indeed hard to miss. It was a mesmerizing display of matter and energy, particles blinking in and out of existence in a dance of cosmic beauty. Zara allowed herself a moment to admire it before entering Auditorium Omega. The auditorium was vast, capable of seating thousands. Beings of all kinds were finding their places, creating a tapestry of colors, textures, and dimensions that boggled the mind. Zara found a seat near the front, pointedly ignoring the whispers that followed her. A hush fell over the crowd as a being floated onto the stage. It was difficult for Zara to comprehend its form. It seemed to exist in multiple dimensions at once, its edges blurring into possibilities. "Greetings, new students of the Galactic Academy of Sciences. I am Archmagister Tylos, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to the greatest repository of knowledge in the known universe." Its voice resonated not just in the air, but seemed to vibrate in Zara's very atoms. "You have all proven yourselves to be among the brightest minds of your respective species. But now you face a challenge unlike any other." Silas paused, its form shimmering with anticipation. "I speak, of course, of the quantum conundrum." A collective gasp rippled through the audience. Zara leaned forward, her heart racing. The quantum conundrum was legendary, a test so complex and mind-bending that it was said to be unsolvable. Some claimed it was a practical joke by the Academy's founders. Others believed it held the secrets to the universe itself. For millennia, the quantum conundrum has stood as the ultimate challenge of intellect and creativity. No being, no matter how brilliant, has ever solved it in its entirety. Some have dedicated their entire lives to unraveling its mysteries, only to scratch the surface. Xylos's form pulsed with energy. But this year, we are doing something unprecedented. We are opening the quantum conundrum to all new students, regardless of their field of study or level of experience. The auditorium erupted in excited chatter. Zara felt a mix of exhilaration and terror. This was why she had come to the academy, to push the boundaries of what was possible. The student who makes the most progress on the quantum conundrum will be granted full access to the academy's resources, including areas usually reserved for archmagisters. They will have the opportunity to pursue any line of research they desire, with the full backing of the academy. Zara's mind reeled at the possibilities. With that kind of support, she could revolutionize her field, maybe even find a way to elevate humanity's standing in the galactic community. But be warned, Xylos continued, its tone growing serious. The quantum conundrum is not to be taken lightly. It has broken the minds of some of the greatest intellects in galactic history. It requires not just knowledge, but intuition, creativity, and a willingness to question the very nature of reality itself. As Xylos explained the rules and procedures, Zara felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see a being that looked like a sentient crystal formation, its facets glittering with intelligence. "Pardon me," it chimed in a melodic voice, "but I couldn't help but notice. You're a human, aren't you?" Zara nodded, bracing herself for the usual barrage of questions or thinly veiled skepticism. "Fascinating," the crystal being exclaimed. "I've read so much about your species. Your capacity for lateral thinking is quite remarkable. I'm Azix, by the way, quantum crystallography major." "Zara," she replied, pleasantly surprised by the genuine interest. "Quantum mechanics, with a focus on multidimensional string theory." Azix's facets sparkled with excitement. "Oh, how wonderful! I have so many questions about human perspectives on quantum entanglement. Perhaps we could study together sometime." Before Zara could respond, a commotion near the back of the auditorium caught their attention. A group of students were clustered around something, their voices raised in alarm. Archmagister Xylos's voice cut through the noise. "What is the meaning of this disruption?" The crowd parted, revealing a student writhing on the floor. Its body, which seemed to be composed of swirling gases, was rapidly changing colors and emitting sparks of energy. "It's Graxon," someone shouted. "He tried to mentally link with the quantum conundrum interface. I think it overloaded his neural pathways." Xylos moved with surprising speed for a multidimensional being, reaching the stricken student in an instant. "This is precisely why we advise caution," it admonished, its form pulsing with concern. "The quantum conundrum is not to be trifled with. It is a test of patience and perseverance as much as it is of intellect." As medical staff rushed to attend to Graxon, Zara exchanged a worried glance with Azix. The crystal being's facets had dulled slightly, reflecting the somber mood that had fallen over the auditorium. "Perhaps," Azix chimed softly, "we humans and crystals have an advantage. We're used to approaching problems step by step, building on solid foundations." Zara nodded, but her mind was racing. If merely interfacing with the quantum conundrum could have such a dramatic effect, what other dangers might it hold? And yet, the potential rewards were too great to ignore. As the orientation concluded and students began to file out, discussing the day's events in hushed, excited tones, Zara felt a mix of emotions she couldn't quite name. Fear, certainly, but also determination and a burning curiosity that overshadowed everything else. She glanced back at the stage, where Archmagister Xylos was deep in conversation with other faculty members. For a moment, she could have sworn the multidimensional being was looking directly at her, its impossible form conveying something like expectation. Zara shook her head, dismissing the notion. She was just another student here, albeit an unusual one. As she left the auditorium, merging into the flow of excited beings from across the cosmos, she made a silent promise to herself. Human or not, underdog or not, she would give the quantum conundrum everything she had. After all, the impossible was just another word for something that hadn't been done yet. And if there was one thing humans excelled at, it was doing the impossible. Preparations and prejudices. The Academy's library was a marvel of engineering and dimensional manipulation. Shelves stretched into infinity, Books and data crystals from every corner of the known universe neatly arranged in a cataloging system that would drive a human librarian to madness. Zara sat at a study pod, surrounded by holographic displays and a small mountain of reference materials. Her unconventional study methods had already drawn curious glances from her fellow students. While most were interfacing directly with the Academy's vast databanks, Zara preferred a more hands-on approach. She scribbled equations on a battered notebook, cross-referencing them with holographic models and occasionally muttering to herself. Fascinating. A melodious voice chimed. Zara looked up to see Azix, the crystalline being she had met at orientation. You're actually using physical writing implements. How charmingly archaic. Zara grinned, holding up her pencil. Sometimes the old ways are the best. There's something about the physical act of writing that helps me think. Azix's facets shimmered with curiosity. May I? Zara nodded, and Azix delicately took the pencil, turning it over in appendages that seemed to form and reform as needed. Remarkable. The graphite leaves traces of your thoughts, a physical manifestation of mental processes. I begin to see the appeal. Their conversation was interrupted by a derisive snort. A being that resembled a sentient cloud of plasma floated nearby, tendrils of energy crackling with barely contained disdain. If you're quite done admiring primitive tools, the plasma being said, its voice a crackle of static, perhaps you'd care to explain how you intend to approach the quantum conundrum with such limited methods. Zara felt her temper flare, but kept her voice level. And you are? Zix 427, Quantum Plasma Dynamics Specialist, the being replied, pulsing with smug superiority. Unlike some, I've been preparing for the quantum conundrum my entire existence. I've run millions of simulations, analyzed every scrap of data from previous attempts, and I can assure you, no amount of scribbling on processed plant matter will unlock its secrets. Azix's crystalline form dimmed slightly, as if embarrassed by the confrontation. But Zara stood her ground, meeting Zix 427's crackling gaze. Well, Zix 427, she said, injecting her voice with a sweetness that barely masked her sarcasm. I look forward to seeing your results. After all, if the quantum conundrum could be solved by running simulations, wouldn't someone have done it by now? The plasma being's form fluctuated wildly, clearly agitated. You dare, you primitive ape. You have no idea of the complexities involved. Your species was flinging feces at each other when mine was already unraveling the mysteries of the cosmos. That's quite enough, a new voice interrupted. Archmagister Tylos materialized beside them, its multidimensional form rippling with disapproval. The quantum conundrum is a challenge of intellect and creativity, not a platform for petty squabbles and species superiority complexes. Zix 427 quickly composed itself, its plasma form smoothing into a more uniform shape. My apologies, Archmagister. I was merely expressing concern over unorthodox methods. Xylos's form shimmered in what might have been the equivalent of a raised eyebrow. Unorthodox methods have often led to the greatest breakthroughs, Zix 427. I suggest you focus on your own approach rather than criticizing others. As the plasma being retreated, clearly chastened, Tylos turned to Zara. Ms. Chen, a moment of your time, if you please. Zara followed Tylos to a quiet corner of the library, feeling a mix of curiosity and apprehension. The Archmagister's form seemed to both occupy and transcend the space around them, a constant reminder of the vast gulf in knowledge and experience between them. I must admit, Xylos began, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. Your presence here has caused quite a stir among the faculty. Some are excited by the prospect of a human tackling the quantum conundrum. Others, well, let's just say they share some of Zix 427's concerns. Zara felt her heart sink. I see. And what do you think, Archmagister? Xylos's form pulsed thoughtfully. I think, Ms. Chen, that the universe has a way of surprising us. Your species has already defied countless expectations. Who's to say you won't do so again? Before Zara could respond, Xylos continued. However, I must warn you. The quantum conundrum is more than just a test of intelligence. It has been known to have profound effects on those who delve too deeply. Be careful, Ms. Chen. Ambition is admirable, but not at the cost of one's sanity. With that cryptic warning, Xylos shimmered and vanished, leaving Zara. The test begins. The day of the quantum conundrum arrived with a palpable tension that seemed to permeate the very fabric of the academy. Students of all species gathered in the grand testing chamber, a vast spherical room that pulsed with barely contained energy. Zara stood among them, her heart racing, but her resolve firm. Archmagister Xylos materialized in the center of the chamber, its multidimensional form more radiant than ever. Students of the Galactic Academy, the moment has arrived. The quantum conundrum awaits. Remember, this is not a race, nor is it a competition against each other. It is a journey of discovery, a test of your ability to perceive the universe in ways you never imagined possible. With a gesture that seemed to bend space itself, Xylos activated the quantum conundrum. The air shimmered, and suddenly each student found themselves enveloped in a personal bubble of warped reality. Zara gasped as the world around her transformed. Stars and galaxies swirled before her eyes, mathematical equations danced in the air, and concepts she had no words for teased the edges of her consciousness. Begin. Xylos's voice echoed, seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Zara took a deep breath and focused. Unlike her peers, who immediately began interfacing with the ethereal constructs around them, she closed her eyes. She recalled a meditation technique her grandmother had taught her, visualizing her mind as a still pond. Slowly, she let the concepts and images from the quantum conundrum ripple across that mental surface. Around her, other students were already showing signs of strain. Zix 427, the arrogant plasma being, was fluctuating wildly, its form barely holding together as it tried to process the overwhelming influx of information. Others were frozen in place, their minds struggling to comprehend what they were experiencing. But Zara remained calm, her breathing steady. She opened her eyes and began to work, not with frantic energy, but with deliberate, measured movements. She pulled out her notebook and pencil, much to the astonishment of those nearby who could perceive beyond their own bubbles. As equations and concepts manifested around her, Zara sketched and wrote, creating a physical representation of the abstract chaos. Her human brain, evolved to recognize patterns and make intuitive leaps, began to see connections that might have eluded a more logically rigid mind. Hours passed, though time seemed to have little meaning in the grip of the quantum conundrum. Zara's notebook filled with diagrams, equations, and observations, some in standard mathematical notation, others in a shorthand of her own devising. She worked tirelessly, fueled by a combination of curiosity and determination. Suddenly, a commotion broke her concentration. One of the students, a being composed of intricate clockwork and glowing energy, had collapsed. Its gears ground to a halt, smoke rising from overheated circuits. Medical staff rushed in, their own reality bubbles merging with the stricken students to extract them from the test. Zara felt a pang of sympathy, but she couldn't afford to lose focus. She turned back to her work, only to find Archmagister Xylos observing her. The multidimensional being's form rippled with what might have been surprise. Fascinating. Xylos's voice resonated in her mind. You're approaching the conundrum in a way we've never seen before. Most try to comprehend it all at once, but you're breaking it down, aren't you? Piece by piece, concept by concept. Zara nodded, a bit unnerved by the Archmagister's sudden appearance in her bubble. It's how humans typically approach complex problems. We can't grasp everything at once, so we break it down into manageable parts. Xylos's form shimmered thoughtfully. A simple approach, yet effective. But be warned, Ms. Chen. The quantum conundrum is more than the sum of its parts. At some point, you'll need to see the bigger picture. With that cryptic advice, Silos vanished, leaving Zara to ponder its words. She looked down at her notebook, filled with fragments of a cosmic puzzle. How could she piece them together to see the whole? As if in response to her thoughts, the reality around her shifted. The swirling galaxies and abstract concepts coalesced into a new form. Zara found herself standing on what appeared to be a beach, but instead of sand, the shore was composed of shifting mathematical symbols. The ocean before her roiled with colors beyond human perception, and the sky above was a tapestry of intertwined dimensions. A message formed in the symbol sand at her feet. To progress, you must dive. Zara stared at the impossible ocean, her heart pounding. This was no longer just a test of knowledge or problem-solving skills. The quantum conundrum was challenging her to take a leap of faith, to immerse herself fully in concepts beyond human understanding. She thought of Earth, of her family and friends who had supported her journey to the stars. She thought of all the humans throughout history who had faced the unknown and dived in headfirst. With a deep breath, Zara stepped forward. As the symbolic waves crashed over her, Zara felt her consciousness expand. The boundaries between mind and universe blurred. She was a quark in an atom, a star in a galaxy, a thought in the cosmic mind. Equations she had struggled to understand now seemed as clear as simple arithmetic. In that moment of transcendent understanding, Zara realized the true nature of the quantum conundrum. It wasn't just a test. It was a key to unlocking the fundamental nature of reality itself. With this revelation came a choice. She could dive deeper, possibly losing herself in the cosmic consciousness forever. Or she could pull back, retaining her individuality, but sacrificing the chance for ultimate knowledge. As Zara grappled with this decision, she became aware of a presence beside her. It was Azix, the crystalline being, its facets refracting the impossible colors of the symbolic sea. "You've come further than any of us," Azix's voice chimed, somehow audible above the roar of cosmic forces. But the next step, it could change everything. "Are you ready for that?" Zara Chen of Earth. Zara looked at her unlikely friend, then back at the swirling maelstrom of knowledge before them. The universe held its breath, waiting for her decision. Unraveling the mystery, Zara stood at the precipice of cosmic understanding, the symbolic sea of knowledge roiling before her. Azix's question hung in the air, a challenge and a warning. In that moment, Zara made a decision that would change not just her life, but potentially the course of galactic history. "I'm ready," she said, her voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. But not alone. She reached out, grasping Azix's crystalline appendage. "Together, we might stand a chance of retaining our individuality while exploring these depths." Azix's facets shimmered with surprise and then determination. A human concept. Friendship in the face of the unknown. "Very well, Zara Chen of Earth. Let us dive together." Hand in hand, human and crystal being plunged into the sea of cosmic knowledge. The initial shock was overwhelming. Concepts beyond mortal comprehension flooded their minds, threatening to wash away their very sense of self. But Zara held tight to Azix, anchoring herself in the solid reality of their connection. As they descended deeper into the heart of the quantum conundrum, Zara began to perceive layers of reality she had never imagined. The universe wasn't just three-dimensional or even four-dimensional. It was a tapestry of interconnected dimensions, each folding into the next in a dance of cosmic complexity. "Look," Azix's voice chimed in her mind. "The patterns, they're not random. It's a language." Zara saw it too. The swirling energies and mathematical constructs were arranging themselves into something akin to an alphabet, but one that described the fundamental nature of reality itself. Each symbol was a key to unlocking a different aspect of the universe. As they decoded this cosmic language, Zara and Azix made a startling discovery. The quantum conundrum wasn't just a test. It was a message, left behind by an ancient race of beings who had transcended physical form. "They're calling themselves the precursors," Zara marveled, her mind racing to keep up with the influx of information. They created the quantum conundrum as a way to find species worthy of inheriting their knowledge. Azix's crystalline form vibrated with excitement. But why? And why leave it in the care of the Galactic Academy? Before Zara could respond, a new presence made itself known. It was Zix-427, the plasma being who had earlier dismissed Zora's abilities. But now, its arrogance was gone, replaced by a desperate plea. "Help me," Zix-427's voice crackled weakly. "I'm losing myself in the data stream. I can't remember who I am." Without hesitation, Zora reached out, extending her free hand to the struggling plasma being. "Hold on to us," she commanded. "Focus on your identity, your experiences. They're what make you unique in this cosmic sea." As Zix-427 joined their link, Zara felt a surge of energy. The three of them, so different in form and thought, created a synergy that allowed them to process the Precursor's message more clearly. "It's a warning," Azix realized, his crystalline form refracting the cosmic energies around them. The Precursors discovered something, a threat to the very fabric of reality. Zara nodded, pieces falling into place. They couldn't face it themselves, so they created the quantum conundrum to find species with the potential to evolve, to one day take up the mantle of protecting the universe. Zix-427, stabilizing in their shared connection, added its own insight. But it's more than that. The quantum conundrum isn't just a test. It's a key to unlocking abilities beyond our current comprehension. As if in response to this realization, the cosmic sea around them began to shift. The symbols rearranged themselves, forming a spiral structure that pulsed with potential. At its center, a singularity of pure knowledge beckoned. "We have a choice to make," Zara said, her voice echoing with the weight of cosmic significance. "We can turn back now, report what we've learned to the Academy. Or we can take the final plunge, unlock whatever power the Precursors left behind." Azix's facets glimmered with uncertainty. But at what cost? "We've already come so far. To go further, we might lose ourselves entirely." Zix-427 crackled with renewed energy. "Or we might transcend our current limitations. Isn't that what science is all about? Pushing boundaries, exploring the unknown." Zara felt the pull of the singularity, the promise of knowledge beyond imagining. But she also felt the solid presence of her companions, the unique perspectives they'd brought to this cosmic challenge. "We go together," she decided, "but we hold on to who we are, our individuality, our experiences. They're not weaknesses to be discarded. They're the very things that brought us this far." With a shared resolve, the trio moved towards the singularity. As they approached, Zara felt her consciousness expanding exponentially. She saw the birth and death of stars, the dance of galaxies, the intricate web of quantum possibilities that underpinned all of existence. But through it all, she held tight to her human identity. She was Zora Chen, daughter of Earth, a species that had clawed its way from the mud to the stars through sheer determination and curiosity. That heritage, that unquenchable thirst for knowledge, was her anchor in the cosmic storm. As they touched the singularity, there was a moment of perfect clarity. Zara saw the Precursor's plan unfolding across millennia, the quantum conundrum guiding species across the galaxy towards this moment of transcendence. But she also saw the threat they had foreseen, a cosmic horror that devoured entire dimensions, that threatened the very concept of existence itself. With a flash of insight that transcended mere thought, Zara understood what needed to be done. The power the Precursors offered wasn't a weapon or a shield. It was the ability to unite, to bring together the unique strengths of every species in the face of cosmic peril. As this realization solidified, the singularity pulsed one final time. Zara felt knowledge beyond imagining flood into her mind, but it didn't overwhelm her. Instead, it settled into place like pieces of a grand cosmic puzzle. With a gasp, Zara, Azix, and Zix-427 found themselves back in the testing chamber of the Galactic Academy. But they were changed, their minds expanded, their understanding of the universe fundamentally altered. Archmagister Xylos materialized before them, its multidimensional form radiating with what could only be described as awe. "You've done it," it said, its voice resonating with wonder. "After eons, the quantum conundrum has finally been solved. But I sense this is only the beginning." Zara looked at her companions, seeing the same mix of exhaustion and exhilaration she felt reflected in their alien forms. "You're right, Archmagister," she said, her voice steady despite the momentous nature of what they had experienced. "It's only the beginning. We have a lot of work to do, and not much time to do it." As the implications of their discovery began to sink in, Zara realized that her journey, humanity's journey, in the cosmic arena was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The stars themselves seemed to twinkle with anticipation, awaiting the next chapter in this grand cosmic adventure. Triumph of human ingenuity. The news of the quantum conundrum solution spread through the Galactic Academy like a supernova, bright and all-consuming. Students and faculty alike buzzed with excitement, disbelief, and not a small amount of fear. The impossible had been achieved, and by a team led by a human, no less. Zara, ASICS, and Zix 427 found themselves at the center of a storm of attention. The trio had been sequestered in a high-security wing of the Academy, undergoing rigorous medical and psychological evaluations. Their minds had touched the very fabric of the cosmos, and the long-term effects were yet unknown. As Zara sat in her temporary quarters, trying to process the enormity of what had transpired, she received an unexpected visitor. Archmagister Xylos phased through the wall, its multidimensional form somehow more substantial than before. "Ms. Chen," Xylos began, its voice resonating with newfound respect, "I must admit, when you first arrived at the Academy, I had my doubts. Humanity is still so young in galactic terms, but you have proven that age and technological advancement are not the sole measures of a species' worth." Zara nodded, feeling both pride and humility. "Thank you, Archmagister, but I couldn't have done it alone. ASICS and Zix 427 were crucial to our success." Xylos's form shimmered in what Zara had come to recognize as agreement. "Indeed, your ability to collaborate, to unite diverse perspectives in the face of cosmic challenges, may well be humanity's greatest strength. It is a quality that will serve your species well in the trials to come." The mention of future trials sent a shiver down Zora's spine. The mention of future trials sent a shiver down Zora's spine. The knowledge they had gained from the quantum conundrum weighed heavily on her mind. "The threat the precursors foresaw," Zora said, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's real, isn't it? And it's coming." Xylos's form pulsed with solemn confirmation. "Yes, Ms. Chen. The dimensional devourer is no myth. For eons, we at the Academy suspected the true purpose of the quantum conundrum, but we could never be certain. Now, thanks to you and your companions, we know the truth, and the monumental task that lies ahead of us." Zara stood, squaring her shoulders. "Then we need to prepare. The entire galaxy needs to know what's coming. We need to unite, to pool our knowledge and resources." "Precisely," Xylos agreed. "And that, Ms. Chen, is why I'm here. The Council of Archmagisters has made a decision. We're establishing a new division within the Academy, the Department of Cosmic Defense, and we want you to lead it." Zara's jaw dropped. "Me? But I'm just a student. Surely there are more qualified." "No one is more qualified," Xylos interrupted, its form rippling with conviction. "You solved the quantum conundrum. You've touched the mind of the precursors. And most importantly, you've demonstrated the ability to bring diverse beings together in pursuit of a common goal. That is precisely what we need now." Before Zara could respond, the door to her quarters slid open. ASICS and Zix 427 entered, both looking as overwhelmed as she felt. I hope we're not interrupting, Azix chimed, his crystalline form glittering with excitement. But we've just been informed of the Council's decision. We've been asked to join the new department as well. Zix 427 crackled with nervous energy. It seems our little adventure has turned into something much bigger than we anticipated. Zora looked at her companions, beings she would have considered utterly alien just weeks ago, but who now felt as close as family. She turned back to Xylos, determination setting in. "We accept," she said firmly, "but on one condition. This can't just be an Academy initiative. We need to reach out to every spacefaring species, every world capable of contributing. The threat we face is to all of existence. Our response must be equally universal." Xylos's form brightened, as if Zora's words had confirmed some deep-held hope. "Your wisdom continues to impress, Ms. Chen. The Council anticipated your request. Even now, messages are being sent to every corner of the galaxy. The Great Conclave is being called for the first time in a millennium." The implications of this statement weren't lost on Zora. The Great Conclave was a gathering of representatives from every known intelligent species in the galaxy. It had only been called 3 times in recorded history, each time in response to a crisis that threatened galactic civilization itself. As the gravity of the situation settled over them, an alert chimed from the room's communication panel. Xylos gestured, and a holographic screen materialized in the air. The face that appeared was one Zora knew well, Carmen Rodriguez, Earth's ambassador to the galactic community. The older woman's eyes were wide with a mix of pride and disbelief. "Zora," Ambassador Rodriguez said, her voice thick with emotion, "I just received word from the Academy. Is it true? Did you really solve the quantum conundrum?" Zora nodded, suddenly feeling the weight of her entire species' hopes on her shoulders. "It's true, Madam Ambassador, but it's only the beginning. There's so much we need to prepare for." Rodriguez's expression turned serious. "I understand. I've been briefed on the situation. Zora, you should know. What you've done, what you've discovered, it changes everything. Earth's status in the galactic community, the way other species see us. It's all shifting as we speak." As if to emphasize the ambassador's words, another alert chimed. This time, the face that appeared belonged to the Secretary General of the United Nations. "Ms. Chen," the Secretary General said, his voice filled with gravity and awe, "on behalf of humanity, I thank you. Your achievement has opened doors we never even knew existed. The UN Security Council has convened an emergency session to prepare for the Great Conclave. We would be honored if you would address the assembly." Zara felt a lump form in her throat. This was so far beyond anything she had ever imagined when she first set foot in the Galactic Academy. She looked at Azix and Zix 427, drawing strength from their presence. "Mr. Secretary General, Madam Ambassador," she said, her voice steady despite the tumult of emotions inside her, "I would be honored. But I won't be speaking alone. My companions, Azix and Zix 427, were instrumental in our success. We faced this new era together as a united front." The Secretary General nodded approvingly. "Of course, we look forward to hearing from all of you. And Ms. Chen, good luck. The eyes of humanity, indeed, the eyes of the entire galaxy, are upon you." As the transmission ended, Zara turned to her companions and Archmagister Xylos. The weight of their responsibility was palpable, but so was the sense of possibility, of a future yet to be written. "Well," Zora said, a small smile playing on her lips, "I guess we've got work to do." Azix's crystalline form shimmered with determination. "Indeed we do, my friend. But if our experience with the quantum conundrum taught us anything, it's that together we can achieve the impossible." Zix 427 crackled in agreement. "To think, not long ago I doubted the capabilities of your species, Zora. I've never been so glad to be proven wrong." Xylos's multidimensional form pulsed with what could only be described as pride. The precursors chose wisely when they created the quantum conundrum. The future of the galaxy, of all existence, is in capable hands. As they left the room together, ready to face the challenges that lay ahead, Zara couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought her to this point. From a curious child gazing at the stars from Earth, to a student at the Galactic Academy, to now, a leader in the fight for the very survival of reality itself. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with dangers beyond imagination. But as she walked alongside beings from across the cosmos, united in purpose and bound by friendship, Zara felt a surge of hope. Humanity had taken its place among the stars, ready to face whatever the universe might throw at them. And they would face it together.